Is getting a labiaplasty actually worth it? Let's go into why I chose to do it and why other people choose to do it, how much it costs when you're trying to do it without insurance and with insurance, because I actually got my insurance to pay for it. And then we're going to go into what recovery was like and getting back to physical activity. And I mean the gym and the adult kind of physical activity, because obviously it's a surgery in an intimate area, so it's kind of a thing you'd probably wonder about, is what our intimate thing's going to be like after you get something done in an intimate area. Now, I did a vlog the whole entire experience, and I will link that down below so you can check that out after this. It's kind of going over my raw emotions when I'm going through the fact of like doing the surgery and the recovery afterwards. And I did a video beforehand kind of talking about why I chose to do it and more of the insurance side of things and prepping for the surgery. And now I've actually got it done, and I wish I saw more videos where people had done the surgery and aren't telling horror stories, if that makes any sense. So if you appreciate someone being a little bit more vulnerable on the internet, please hit that like button down below. And I also post a new video every single Wednesday, so hit that subscribe button. There is so many good videos to come. And let's get into why did I get the surgery done? I feel like that's an obvious common question for the surgery, but I didn't do it for the typical reason. So a lot of people, oh my goodness, my hair looks crazy. A lot of people get the surgery done for cosmetic reasons. And I did get my implants done for cosmetic reasons. And if you didn't know that, I vlogged the whole entire journey for that and talked about my whole experience, the costs behind it and everything. And now we're getting into my next surgery. I'm not sure if I'll have any more in the future, but currently we're at 2. Either way, the reason why I got this one done was actually for medical reasons, meaning it was covered by insurance. So the cost is going to be a little bit different than what you might expect it to be, but we'll get into that next. First, the reason why I got it done was for 3 specific reasons. I had a lot of skin issues, I had infection issues, and I had hygiene issues. And yes, that's the beach behind me. Let's go hop in the water soon, but I'm not taking you guys with me because I just don't want to vlog out in public today, okay? But either way, I consider the labiaplasty almost similar to a male circumcision. And I know that sounds really weird, but one of my friends actually mentioned that idea first, and I actually kind of agree with them, because I can see how in a lot of ways getting circumcised would have a lot of the same benefits that getting a labiaplasty would be for a lot of women that have that excess skin, except for the fact that it is way more commonly talked about, and it's also done way earlier than a labiaplasty is usually done. Yes, there's a lot of history behind circumcisions and why they happen and why labiaplasties happen later, and they're looked at more cosmetically than medically, but either way, we're talking about myself here and possibly the reasons why you want to get one. And the first one was the skin issues. I had so many skin issues. I already have sensitive skin, so it's not like it's only in that area. I'm known for having sensitive skin in all parts of my body. This part was no different. And when I started working out more consistently, it became more of an issue. The area was so raw and sensitive and irritated. I was getting prescribed steroid creams. It wasn't always that bad, but there was moments where it was bad and it felt like I just constantly had to like baby the area, and that gets a bit annoying, okay? I feel like that's not normal to feel like you have to constantly be like medications or taking it easy or this or that, and it's just like, I just wanted to live normally, okay? And then the next one was infections. And there was mixed doctors' opinions on if getting the labiaplasty would actually help with my infections. One OBGYN very firmly believed that it would not help with my infections. She believed that labiaplasties do not help with infections, that she doesn't really believe in them. And then another doctor felt the exact opposite way. She's like, it makes sense. Things are living in the folds of that excess skin, and clearly it's causing infections. And if it doesn't help, then it doesn't help, but you also have other reasons why you want to get the labiaplasty done. So first, when I was younger, I was getting a lot of UTIs. I could help with that as I learned to better take care of the excess skin, but then I was still getting yeast infections and BV infections more recently, and they were really hard to like knock the habit. It kept being basically like, I had it, I went away. I had it, it went away. I had it, it went away. And so either way, since I have gotten the labiaplasty done, I have not had any infections. And who knows if they are related or not, but I'm happy to say there's no more infections and no more skin irritation. And then the next one, like I said, was hygiene. And that's similar to the infection concept. And that's just, the area is very hard to keep clean. It's so much excess skin that has a lot of folds. A lot of things like to live in between the folds. and that just gets really, really old. Take a shower, I wash the area, but you also can't overwash the area because that can also cause infections because it messes up your pH balance. And it just felt like everything was fighting each other. Like, to help with the skin issues, that stuff was causing my body to get all messed up. To help with the hygiene stuff, it was causing the infections, and not doing it was causing infections. Like, it just felt like an evil cycle that could all be solved possibly by getting a labiaplasty done. It's not to say that it will solve all your problems or it will solve all of mine, but honestly, surgery seemed less extreme than having to do all the things I was having to do to my body to try to keep things regulated. It would have cost $21,548 to do the 2 procedures that I got done at the same facility with the same doctors, because that is how much the companies try to charge my insurance company. But the thing about insurance companies is they will only pay for how much they believe that it should cost. So they definitely didn't cover that full 21,000 something dollars, but I also wasn't responsible for it either. I was responsible for my co-pays, and we'll get into it. But first I want to give you a reference point because I actually got a quote to get a labiaplasty done by the surgeon that did my implants. But most plastic surgeons who are exclusively plastic surgeons don't work a lot with insurance companies and aren't already set up, so that wasn't really an option. But I did get a quote for it if I decided to do it without insurance, and it was for $6,500. That is a lot more reasonable than over 21 grand. But I still did not go through that method because I was able to prove that it was medically necessary. And if you want to watch the video I did before I got the surgery done, I went in a lot more depth on why it's medically necessary and some more information on it, and I would only be responsible for my copays. But it's not as simple as a copay for a normal doctor's visit. I was actually responsible for 3 different copays. Copay number 1 was for the doctor, the facility, and then pathology. But I actually got that dropped because they didn't make me aware they were sending things off to pathology. And depending on your insurance, you might be responsible for a 4th thing, and that is actually for anesthesiologists. Anesthesiologists, I think that's how you say it. But my insurance actually covers them fully, and they don't even need to be in network, which is actually really nice. But that could be an additional cost because here I can pull up how much the anesthesiologist actually costs. It costs $1,925, and depending on what percentage your insurance makes you pay, kind of gives you an idea of the cost of anesthesiologies. Anesthesiologist. I'm gonna stop trying to say that word, but let's get back into what I actually had to pay. I was responsible for a $150 copay for the facility, and the total cost they tried to charge my insurance was $8,895. My insurance said the plan allowance was $2,662.50. So that's what they figured it was actually valued at, and what I actually had to pay was $150. So not really bad at all. Now, as for the actual doctor, it was almost as much as the facility was. They tried to charge $8,320 because I actually had 2 procedures done. Keep that in mind. I didn't just have a labiaplasty, I also had a clitoral hood reduction, which is a separate surgery they do at the same time. So individually, each surgery, one surgery was $5,910. The other one was $2,410 for a total of $8,320. Now, as for the actual plan allowance, what my insurance thought it was worth was only $3,071, a lot less than $8,000 something dollars. And of that, I only had to pay $200 as my copay. So $200 is much better than $3,000 something dollars and a heck of a lot better than $8,000 something dollars. But again, that gives you an idea on what the insurance thinks it's valued and what they try to charge my insurance. And overall, my copay for that is $200. It's a flat rate, not a percentage. Now, as for the next fee, it actually is a percentage. So before my surgery, I was not made aware that they were planning on sending off everything they cut to pathology. I signed a contract that actually said that they would take all things removed during surgery and that I would not have any rights to it. They could use it for research, they could do whatever they wanted to it, but I did not have a right to it. And then they ended up sending it off to pathology and not making me aware of that. If they had made me aware aware of it ahead of time, I would have been responsible for it. But they didn't, so they dropped the fee of that. But the total cost of doing those tests were $2,408, and then my insurance actually covered $1,329, and I would have been responsible for about $200 because I pay a percentage of all of my labs done. But I was able to get that fee dropped, but you have to consider when you get it done that you might end up paying for the pathology. It seems like if you go through insurance, a lot of times they want to send it off to pathology and you'd be responsible for it. But if you went private and you did it through a plastic surgeon, not under insurance, a lot of times they don't send it off to pathology unless there's really a need for it or you specifically want it. So I specifically spent $350 in copays to get the surgery done. It would have been $550 if I didn't get that one pathology fee dropped. And that's not the only cost that I did, but $350 is a heck of a lot better than $6,500 that I would have had to spend if I didn't go through insurance and went through my specific surgeon. I do think he's an amazing surgeon, but it was medically necessary, and I'm very glad that my insurance actually covered it. Now, as for additional things that I bought, I did buy things, but they're not, you don't need them to go through the recovery, but I did buy little things to help with using the bathroom. I had pillows previously from my last surgery that help keep the area elevated. I also got specific ice packs to make things easier, but all of these things are not things you need, but definitely would make it helpful. You do kind of need the stuff for the bathroom though, because you're not able to use toilet paper. We'll get into that in a moment, but I will link my Amazon storefront down below so you can get an idea of all the things that I bought to prep for surgery. I'm not sure the total cost on them or what they cost now, but I'll link down a few different options depending on what price you want to spend that I use to help me go through recovery, but it doesn't mean you need those things, but it's an additional cost that you have to keep in mind. Now, speaking of that, let's get into recovery. Like I said, I vlogged afterwards and talked about my feelings when it was pretty raw and new, but looking back at it, and even in the moment, I would say things were a lot easier than I thought they were gonna be. I just kind of freaked myself out because I saw all the horror stories. I saw everybody talking about how painful it was and how they couldn't walk a week later and like just all these crazy things. And reality was, it was not that bad. I was not really in much to any pain. There wasn't really too much discomfort in the whole situation. The only thing I would say that maybe made a big difference in why it wasn't that way for me and it was for other people was that I took it really, really easy for the first week. I did not allow myself to do stuff even when I felt fine to do things. For the first week, I stayed elevated. I elevated my pelvis, stayed in this weird position that was so uncomfortable, but I think it really helped bring down the swelling because I knew I am notorious for being inflamed. So I really want to do things to make sure I was keeping that inflammation down because I'm already an inflamed person. So I was keeping the area very elevated. I was avoiding caffeine and other things that would possibly make your body more inflamed. And then I was also taking an over-the-counter, like, herbal medicine. I forgot how you describe it, but either way, it's supposed to be like a natural way to bring down inflammation. And I iced it non-stop. Literally, they say like ice it so many times a day or whatever, so many hours in a day. I just non-stop ice it. And also, everything I'm saying, don't take it as doctor's advice. Always talk to your doctor about everything. But I iced it non-stop. I literally had a rotation of ice packs in my car, and I just went from one ice pack to another to make sure I kept the area really cold. Now, as for getting back to physical activity, whether it's the gym or it's the bedroom, it wasn't that much of an adjustment for me, but I actually took a lot longer than I needed to go back. I went back 2 weeks after my doctor recommended me to, just because it was hard to get back into the routine of actually coming into the gym, going to the classes, working out on the machines. But when I did, I'm not sure if it's because how long I took, it wasn't bad at all. I found that I could lift pretty much the same weights as I could before and mostly keep up, but I was taking things a bit easier even when I started because I was like, oh, it might feel easy right now, but I might feel pain later. So even after waiting longer than I needed to, I also took it easy and took my time getting back into it. But overall, I would say there was not pain and discomfort like I kind of expected there to be. I easily went back to wearing leggings and all of that. I actually found leggings were a lot more comfortable comfortable, like yoga pants, leggings, all that were a lot more comfortable than wearing something like jeans even before I went back to the gym. So half the time I was in workout clothes before I was even actually working out. Now I don't know if it's gonna be the same way for you, but your doctor will let you know when they think you're able to go back. And some doctors have different opinions on it, but I would say the earlier you go back, the more chance of you having pain and discomfort or side effects like tearing or something like that. But I decided to give myself all of the time to heal. I wanted the best results and I wanted to be really easy when I got back into working out. I did say I went back for workout classes and I went back to doing some things on the machine, but I actually have not gone back to doing cycling classes yet. I'm just kind of afraid because I was already sore in that area when it came to cycling before surgery, and I'm kind of worried about going back. But in some ways, I think it might actually be easier to go back to cycling, because one of the reasons why I actually got this surgery done was because I was having irritation when I was working out, and especially when it came to cycling, because there's a lot of pressure on that area and the skin became pretty raw, and now that skin's not there. So maybe it really won't be that bad to go back, but we'll have to see what it's like when I decide that it's actually worth going to one of the classes again. I'm not the biggest cardio person, but I'm really trying to be better about that. But as for the other form of physical activity, which is adult activity, keep in mind this is a PG video. We're not going to go into too much detail on it, but I also waited longer than I even needed to in comparison to the gym. I waited even longer than that because, well, I'm single. That's the main reason. I feel like if I had a partner, I probably would have put more priority on doing things sooner, but I'm single, so it wasn't really much of a priority for me. So I did wait a lot longer too, and I really didn't notice a difference. And I know a lot of people that would start earlier feel pain or discomfort or pulling, and they say that maybe you should feel the area out first before you do with a partner, so you kind of have an idea if you are ready. And I did, a little bit myself beforehand just to make sure I wasn't going to die when doing things with a partner, but at the same time, I didn't really do much before a partner, and when it came to being with a partner, I didn't really notice a difference. I was kind of curious if there would be a positive difference because of the skin irritation stuff, and I also got a clitoral hood reduction, which means that area is more exposed and there's a possibility of more sensation. That was not the case. It was basically the same as what it was before, and maybe that's something good for you to hear. Maybe it's not. You might be different because, like I said, you might prioritize it and do it a lot sooner. But we're not going to go in too much more detail because I don't want this to be marked as an adult-only video, because I want everybody to be able to watch it, because some people get the surgery done a lot sooner than you might think for medical reasons. So I want it to be viewable for them. But if you have questions, always feel free to ask them. DM me on different platforms. I have had so many conversations with people about this surgery because I feel like not a lot of people want to talk about it. There's not enough videos out there. So I kind of tried to weave in some of the questions I've been getting into this video. So I hope it helps you out, and I really appreciate it again if you hit that like and subscribe button down below. And I hope you have a great rest of your morning, evening, night, whatever it is for you. I'll see you Wednesday.